Hey everybody, it is that time of the year once again for my winter outlook. A lot of hours going into looking at information, crunching numbers, trying to figure out years that I thought were similar. I'll have a lot of detailed information, including charts and what I call my analog years, all up on our website if you want to check that out. But we're going to go over some things now and talk about what I think is going to happen as we head into this winter season. Before we do that, though, I want to look back because we actually had what we would call a La Niña for the last 3 years, and that's only happened 3 times. 75, 76, we ended with what we call a triple dip La Niña. In 2000, 2001, and then of course last year. So you might say, well, that's interesting. What happened in those years afterwards? Well, when we look back at 76, 77, again, this was the winter coming out of 3 La Niñas in a row. Look at this, extremely cold, drier than normal, and a little bit more snow than normal. But interesting, the only other time this happened was in 01, 02, when it was very warm and not much snow. So we really couldn't use that as an analog since it's happened only a couple times, and it was a big difference in what had happened in those 2 years. However, we are in now what's called an El Nino, and I wanted to show you, this is basically water temperatures that we look at off the coast of South America and extended westward. Normally what happens is we see a lot of this warmer water at the surface kind of pile up well off to the west. However, when this reverses, we see a change in this, and the waters kind of start to move back off to the east, and that's where we find the warmer than normal temperatures, and this is actually what we call El Nino. That's where we are now. We're in an El Nino. We haven't been there for a while, but that's what we're looking at right now. We had some strong El Ninos back in 1997, also in 2015. This one's pretty strong. I don't think quite as strong as those, but that's something that we factored into. And here's the pattern that we usually see with an El Nino winter. For us, unfortunately, drier than normal because we've been dry already, and more active down to the south. Again, that's a typical pattern during an El Nino winter. These are the sea surface temperatures right now, and you can clearly see this area right here. This is the El Nino that we're looking at, and again, it is very, very warm there. We also look at some other areas. North of that, there's some colder water. We also come back out here into the Indian Ocean, kind of pay attention to what's going on there. Up here across the North Pacific into the Gulf of Alaska, and of course over near the U.S. as well. All of these ocean surface temperatures are very important to us when putting together a forecast. This is our first El Nino we've had since 1819, so it's been a while since we've seen something like this happen. When we talk about the sea surface temperatures, here's an update for you. The really warm waters, you can see that. We do watch off here to the west and to the southwest of that area, and especially when you see some of these cooler pockets here and there. That's going to be important to us, including off the west coast of the United States. And of course, close to home, we have quite a bit of warm water here off the southeast coast and a little cooler in places, but a lot of the Atlantic at this time is warmer than normal. So all of this kind of plays into what we do when we put together the forecast. Also, snow cover. Do we have a lot of snowpack to the north? Because air masses coming over the snowpack will tend to be less modified, meaning colder air. So the more snow we find to the north, generally the colder the weather we find down across this part of the country. So a lot of information. We look at all of this and try to come up with the winter outlook. And here we go. This is what I think is going to happen as we head through this winter season here in the valley. First of all, colder than last winter. Last winter actually was pretty mild, except for that period right around Christmas time. So I think colder than last winter. Next up, the first 2-inch or greater snowfall probably not falling until after we get to December the 12th or later than that. I don't think a white Christmas again this year. The last time we had a true white Christmas all across our viewing area was in 2010. So it's been a while. I don't think the pattern looks good for it again this year. More warm days than cold days. We'll have some cold snaps, but the warm will outweigh the cold. More rain events than snow events. Definitely, I think we're going to be looking at that. Next up, a lot of windy days, and I think this because the storm track will bring a lot of these clipper systems over this area, which brings lots of wind. So you'll notice a lot of windy days this coming winter. Large temperature swings again this year of at least 60 degrees or greater. By that I mean from the highest temperature to the lowest temperature over the winter, it'll be at least a 60-degree swing in the temperatures. I do believe at least one record or near record high temperature. A lot of my analog years did show some pretty warm days during the winter months. I think the warmest month compared to average will be December. I think the El Nino will weaken some after that, and we'll see some colder air, but I do think warmest compared to average will be the month of December. Because we will see some warm days and these clipper systems coming in. A lot of my analog years did have severe weather events, so I think we'll have at least a couple times when we're talking about some severe storms moving into the area. Unfortunately, because of the storm track also, an increased chance of ice, and it could be significant in this area. So I do think ice is going to be a problem, at least for 1 or 2 events as they move in. Overall, though, when you look back at the winter, I think it's going to be a mild winter with some cold shots. The cold shots may be very cold, but overall, lots of mild days it looks like. We're likely to see a temperature lock of above normal temperatures for several days. And by this, I mean we may go 7, 8, 9 days in a row with above normal temperatures. So we could have some long strings in there with some pretty mild weather. A few what I call high impact storms, which have a big impact on our travel or our daily activities. I do think we're going to see a few of those high impact storms again this winter. I think February looks like it'll probably have the most snow compared to all of the months. So again, probably weighted heavy towards the second half of the winter when we see more of our winter weather move in. I think the coldest part of the winter is going to be the second half of the winter. And also normal to below normal sub-zero days. Days we go below zero. I'm forecasting somewhere between 3 and 5 of those this winter. This is also interesting. I think the most active part of the winter will be the second half, and we could have some severe weather in there along with some snow. So again, the second half of the winter looks to be a lot more active. And another winter with a lot of clipper systems. I talked about those. Those are the ones that come in from the north, swing down across the area, and bring us a quick shot of some snow and some wind. I think a slow start to spring, unfortunately. As a matter of fact, I think there's still going to be some cool weather as we start March, and believe it or not, even some snow as we head into the month of March. So here's what we're looking at with the forecast. Above normal temperatures, but not by a lot, by a little over 1 degree above normal. I think precipitation, unfortunately, because we've been dry, is also going to be below normal. And I think when you look at snowfall for the area, we're going to be below normal, but not by a whole lot. I'm forecasting about 12.5 inches for the winter season here in the valley. That's a wrap on my winter outlook. Don't forget to go to our website where you can get lots of technical information and also some charts as well, and a printable version of the outlook.